Did he do his own stunts? Does he know martial arts? And to those people, I only have one thing to say.
Hey guys, my name is Young Lee. I am one of the action designers on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and I'm here to break down some of the action sequences of the film. Brad Allen, who was my mentor for many years and also the second unit director on Shang-Chi as well as the stunt coordinator, he had in mind to make every scene in this film feel distinct from one another. And so he built a really big team of creatives in the stunt team. And of course, Destin giving us the vision and sort of leading what was important and approving all the sequences. The bus sequence, everybody had hands in, and I think that's partly why the bus sequence is so well regarded. Part of the difficulty we had with it was discovering what was Shang-Chi's fighting style. We knew we wanted to pay homage to Jackie Chan in the bus sequence, and we also wanted to pay homage to a lot of martial arts greats like Donnie Yen and Jet Li, Bruce Lee, of course.
I actually did take a little bit of martial arts as a youth, so I'm gonna try and grade this fight as we're going.
Designing that scene, the first few passes I felt were too like comedy Jackie vibes. It was fun, but it just didn't feel like right for the character. It wasn't until we got to a place where Shang-Chi was a little more slick and a lot less comedic in his actions, in the choreography, that we found like sort of a sweet spot.
Sorry.
He's supposed to be trained in like every martial art. He's supposed to be proficient in everything. So everything he does should be absolutely effortless. Right off the bat, we have him do the 1-inch punch, which is perfect because his character in the comics was very much inspired by Bruce Lee and the 70s Kung Fu fever. It's also really satisfying to see him punch that guy because he just pushed Katie so hard in the face. Awkwafina took that really hard. That was real, which is pretty insane.
You have the wrong guy. Does he look like he can fight? Come on, bro.
Well, and then we had the Jackie. We hinted a little bit of the Jackie influence with the jacket gag, where he gets grabbed in the back, he turns around, takes off his jacket, and then pushes the guy. Then another guy comes on, he puts the jacket back on, and then does an elbow strike at the same time. That's definitely Jackie vibes, but we wanted to do it in a way that felt like Shang-Chi and not like Jackie and not like Jet Li. You know, even getting the pose, the Shang-Chi pose in the bus took some time for us. And I think we landed on something that was very much inspired by Donnie Yen's flavor. I remember even Simu being a little hesitant to doing the pose, but it wasn't until we were there on set and he did the pose, and then when he saw everyone else's reactions were like, oh my god, that's so good.
Holy shit.
And he had to go to the monitors to see for himself. When he sighs, like, yes, let's do that. This is a great sequence to break down about like how action design works. One of the first things in any action sequence that's super important is to have an establishing geography shot. The reason being is we want to give the audience all the information as possible. They need to know the setting, where the characters are relative to space, and where the enemies are relative to the characters. And this was from Destin's request. We start with a big wide looking down the scaffold. We get to see Shang-Chi and Katie, and camera's booming down. We see, oh my god, that's really high. We get that vertigo, and as we boom down, we look up and we see an explosion, and that's where the Ten Rings assassins are coming from. We see that they're different from the guys on the bus. They have new armor. They got new weapons that glow. These hook swords that glow. We don't know what at the time when you're watching the film, you don't know what they do yet, but you just know that they glow and they're special.
I'll buy you some time, just keep going.
Right off the bat, we have an assassin descend in like super fast speeds with the camera moving at the same speed of the assassin. He uses the hook sword, he flips over, grabs another piece of the bamboo. All that prior to is a fully CG shot. VFX is a big part of building action sequences. On the second grab of the bamboo, that becomes a live action shot, and then the assassin kicks Shang-Chi faints. His quick reaction finally catches up to him. He grabs that electrical hook sword, which electrocutes him. Then it leaves an opening and he gets kicked in the chest, and then he falls. And then we get to this shot where he falls, he hits the edge of a bamboo and then turns and then flips back on the way down. Props to the stunt double, Zeto, for doing that. That's a hard move to do. He did a really good job and it felt really, really hard. This part's important in the sequence because we want to show our hero is vulnerable. When you show that your hero is vulnerable, it adds stakes to the sequence because we now see that he's not invincible. He can get hurt. But here we have very much a human in a very dire situation, and I think that just leads towards grounding the character and making him feel a lot more real. So later in the sequence, we get to a shot where Kay's dangling on a bamboo. She's holding it and she's yelling at Sean to help her. Sean then grabs an assassin and then puts him in a clinch. The story has to dictate the choreography. So of course, choreography-wise, we're not going to have him striking guys in this moment. We need him in a clinch so that he can take a moment to look at Katie and see her in danger. In that moment, then he tosses him and he's in go mode. He's not in fight mode anymore. He switches into go mode. And then again, that's story dictating choreography. He's got to get from point A to point B.
I'm coming!
So I felt the one shot of seeing Shang-Chi's journey, and as he's running, camera's looking this way, and also seeing Katie at the same time. I think holding that shot as he's going through this whole journey leaves us on the edge of the seat because we see her dropping more and more as he gets closer and closer. And not cutting away in that moment, I think, is integral to the story and also the suspense. So the shot that we did on the day is actually is pretty complicated. It's a one shot, but it's actually two shots stitched as a one shot because we didn't have enough space with the set to do the full journey. And so that was our limit. That was our limitation. And when you're working on any film, even films as big budget as Shang-Chi, there's always going to be limitations. And I think as filmmakers, that's when you learn how to be a little creative. He starts gunning it because he's got to save Katie. In this shot, as he's passing, camera whips with him. That's a stitch point. And in that one shot, we pick up the shot again. We have two cameramen set up. So we have one cameraman on the side here following Shang-Chi. He runs in with him. That's Peter Chris Martoni. He jumps down. We want to have it so it's like a video game feeling almost, so that you're almost attached to the character. The camera's attached to the character. So he jumps down, camera goes with him. In that moment, Shang-Chi has to leap out of the side of the scaffold to get to the lower part, and that's when Peter hands over the camera to Frank, our second camera operator, who is then, he's on a zip line, tied up. He's hanging on a zip line, being held by the riggers. He waits to grab the camera, so when Shang-Chi rolls out and descends, he grabs the camera and also starts descending on the zip line at the same speed in which Shang-Chi is running. And then in that moment, we trying to keep Frank slightly behind Shang-Chi, but not too far, because we need to be able to see the wide Katie falling. And then we have another Katie double just being held, waiting for him to get close to her, and then we drop her, and then he catches her arm. So that took a little while to figure out.
Gotcha.
The only other project I have coming up is The King's Man, coming out in December. I'm really excited for people to go check that one out. Got the pleasure to work with director Matthew Vaughn again, who wanted to tell a World War I story and how that whole conflict began.
It's time to pour fuel on the fire.
Oh, I cannot wait for you guys to see it. I really can't. Other than that, I hope everyone can go watch Shang-Chi. That's streaming on Disney Plus right now. And if you haven't seen it, go see it. There's no excuse now.
Go, you freak!
Thanks for having me, Watch Mojo. My name's Young Lee, and hopefully I'll see you around.
Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.